Afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for this opportunity. I'll try to stick to the time limit. Uh, so my topic here is Indo-US Energy Cooperation, and I'll be speaking on the energy security aspects related to renewable energy, that's clean energy as well as shale gas. So this is the format of my presentation. Uh, I'll be dealing with a basic history of the energy relationship starting from the 1950s, and then I'll move on to the Indo-US Energy Dialogue, then the PACE, the Partnership to Advance Clean Energy, coming to the second major component of the shale gas, and then what happened during the UNGA summit when our Prime Minister Modi met President Obama, and what happened in the sidelines of the summit, and the challenges to energy cooperation between India and US, and opportunities for further collaboration. Well, energy cooperation between India and US, that is in the field of renewables, it started way back in the 1950s. So the major US agency which was responsible for it was the USAID, that is the US Agency for International Development, and it started with a sort of a brick and mortar assistance in the 50s, 60s and 70s. That is USAID's legacy in providing infrastructural support for India's major thermal power plants, hydroelectric projects, and even, which I'm not going to deal with, in building the Tarapur nuclear power plant, which became critical in 1969. Further ahead, USAID also assisted India in developing almost around 30 major power plants in India till the time of the liberalization in 1991. And out of this, the Sharavati hydropower project in Mysore was really a magnificent achievement at that particular time in the 1960s. After the liberalization, in 1994, President Clinton's mission on sustainable energy and trade came to India, and it was led by the Department of the Secretary of Energy, Hazel O'Leary. So this is actually a very positive engagement, because in spite of the fact that at this time there were other wayward developments happening in the same time, with the US Assistant Secretary of State for South Asian Affairs, Robin Raphael, making controversial statements regarding India, and she being at the brunt of all criticism on the part of Indian diplomats. So this has to be taken in a more brighter note, because of whatever was happening at that side, simultaneously we have been taking forward the energy partnership along with it. And then, in the meanwhile, cooperation expanded over time as climate change became one of the major debates and discussions in the international scenario. And then, the impact of carbon emissions actually pushed the concept of clean energy and renewable energy into the top of the US-India cooperation. And in 2005, we have a landmark agreement between both countries, and that is the launch of the Indo-US Energy Dialogue. In 2009, as a byproduct of this dialogue was the launch of the PACE program, that is a Partnership to Advance Clean Energy. So first I'll deal with the Indo-US Energy Dialogue. In a nutshell, this dialogue is led by the US Secretary of Energy and the Deputy Chairman of the Indian Planning Commission. Basically, it's a whole of government undertaking that provides a platform for engagement by a wide array of governmental agencies, but at the same time with agencies, with private agencies that represent the voices of private enterprises, like for example the US-India Business Council. It has also been actively engaging the Indian and American business communities in promoting trade and investment in the energy sector of both countries. Then the work under the energy dialogue is basically divided into 6 working groups. So that is power and energy efficiency, new technology and renewable energy, oil and gas. In oil and gas, I'll be explaining the shale gas prospects. And then coal. In coal, I'll be talking about the kind of scientific exchanges that have taken place between both countries, where Indian scientists have been going to the US and carrying out research and development work in the field of coal conversion technologies, clean coal, and even coal bed methane gas, for the possible extraction of coal bed methane gas, which is quite an opportunity for a country like India, which is rich in it. And then the civil nuclear energy, which is one of the most important working group among this. And then another 6th working group was added in 2013, and it is the working group on sustainable growth. So now I'm moving on to the PACE program. So PACE had basically 3 components, of which I'll be explaining in the next slide. So in the first component of PACE, that is the PACE research component, the Indo-US Joint Clean Energy Research and Development Center was established. It was established in 2010. So the major partners or the stakeholders of this particular center, the Government of India, that is represented by the Ministry of Science and Technology, and under which the Department of Biotechnology and Department of the Department of Science and Technology plays a major role. And then on the part of the US, it is the US Department of Energy. So the objective is to facilitate joint research and development, which is aimed towards deployment of clean energy technologies in India. So it has three major priority areas. So first is solar energy, of which US is finding a very potential market in India. And then we have second generation biofuels. In a mostly agrarian country like India, which is dependent on the agricultural sector for most of its economic development, almost 80% of agricultural waste is in the form of rice husk and all these other kinds of agricultural residue. So like what Brazil had done before in the case of sugarcane husk, which was actually converted into a form of biofuel by the name of Jatropha, which we all have heard of. There is a potential for making use, extracting biofuel from rice husk, which is quite abundantly available in India. And then we move on to the energy efficiency of buildings. So this concept was articulated in the energy smart cities program, in which three major cities have been already earmarked, that is Visakhapatnam, Ajmer and Banaras. So for the PACE-R program, a total funding of around $100 million have been earmarked over a period of 5 years, and funding has been distributed both from the government as well as the private agencies. So this is the three components of the PACE program. As I had already explained about the PACE-R program, I'll directly move on to the PACE-D program. D is deployment of clean energy technologies. So 7 US agencies support this program. That is quite a remarkable feat. I'll just list it down. The US Department of Commerce, US Department of State, Department of Energy, the Export-Import Bank of the United States, and then the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, the USAID, and the US Trade and Development Agency. The priorities areas include energy efficiency, renewable energy, cleaner fossil fuel, and clean energy finance. So a total of 20 million US dollars have been earmarked for the PACE-D Technical Assistance Program. So the Technical Assistance Program, the major stakeholders of this program, which is mainly engaged in facilitating a hassle-free finance mechanism for clean energy deployment. It is from the Government of India. It is the Ministry of Power and the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. And then we move on to the PEACE program, which was introduced in 2013. PEACE means promoting energy access through clean energy. It is actually a new track which has 4 key elements, and that is sharing best practices in clean energy research and development as well as deployment aspects. Then improving clean energy finance mechanism, then technology innovation, as well as building technical capacity of stakeholders, which include both public as well as private players. And the Government of India counterparts are Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and a new player over here, the National Institute of Solar Energy. So solar energy comes into the purview at that particular place. So next is the second major component of my presentation, and that is shale gas. So basically, what is this whole thing about shale boom in the US. So after 2010, around after 2010, when major private oil companies in the US started prospecting for shale gas, and with quite an amount of fruition, it was basically discovered that US is on the verge of attaining self-sufficiency and self-reliance in its energy demands, and so the next best thing is to export it to energy dependent nations. But there are a lot of bureaucratic hurdles which is actually acting as an impediment to whatever we have to do. So when President Barack Obama visited India way back in November 2010, an MOU was signed for joint exploration and prospecting for shale gas reserves in India, as well as for thinking about measures to actually go for a futuristic scenario wherein shale gas shipments will come from the US directly to India. So as I had explained in the MOU, there were provisions which were listed out wherein shale gas resource assessment India would take place in collaboration with the United States Geological Survey as well as the Geological Survey of India, and also the exchange of geologists and other scientific and technical experts in this field. And in 2013, another major feat was attained wherein Gas Authority of India, that is GAIL India Limited, entered into an agreement with Dominion Resource Inc., which is actually a Virginia-based US oil company, which is actively involved in the shale gas exploration over there, to actually ship shale gas from the US to India. And this will be done through the Sabine Gas LNG terminal, which is already finished its construction, and it is actually located around the Louisiana-Texas border. So, okay, the question obviously arises, will this shale gas boom-driven US LNG exports to India be a game changer? So, before we before we delve onto this question, let me just put in, the kind of intricacies involved in realizing such a futuristic scenario. So mainly within the US, the US-India Political Action Committee, which is represented by a group of Indian American Indian Americans, business magnates as well as lobbyists. They are actively campaigning in the Capitol Hill, and right now they are trying their level best to get two bills actually passed, that is two House bills as well as one Senate companion bill passed, so as to export shale gas to a non-free trade agreement nation like India, because US and India have so far not signed an FTA with each other. So far things were actually looking good, but right now due to the oil price, the nosediving in oil prices, the US shale companies, most of the shale companies has this sort of minimum bar wherein they are ready to export their shale gas to whether to FTA or non-FTA countries only if they get a minimum of $90 a barrel. But unfortunately, right now oil prices have dipped to below even $50 a barrel. So. Okay, so this is a quote from one of the US Republican Congressman, Ted Poe. So this quote actually it goes like this: like the Bluebell Ice Cream Company, our motto on LNG should be, we eat all we can and we sell the rest. Where should we sell it? India. So this actually cements the fact that in the US, whether it is about having good economic as well as energy cooperation and relations with India, both the parties have a sort of consensus. So what happened during the 2014 September meet between Modi and Obama? So basically it was about carrying over the whatever was told in the 2014 US energy dialogue which took place in New Delhi. So it actually a list of provisions were enlisted, that is including this new energy smart cities program which I had already mentioned. Then a program to scale up renewable energy into India's power grid, which is actually a bit complicated, and it actually invites a lot of other criticism as well as other inherent problems, because India has a big power grid and it is not so easy to integrate renewable resource, which is quite in a nascent stage in a country like India, into its big power grid. So I'll be explaining a bit about it in areas of future further cooperation. So another area is to increasing cooperation to support India's efforts to upgrade its alternative energy institutes, like for example, the Sardar Patel Solar Energy Institute, the Renewable Energy Institute, then the India-US Solar Energy Institute, the SERI, and the likes of it. And then it is about an expansion in the PEACE program, that is to unlock additional private sector investment and accelerate deployment of cost-effective, super-efficient appliances, mainly in the field of semiconductors. Finally, about the formation of a new clean energy finance forum to promote investment and trade in clean energy projects. So what are the challenges? So first of all, climate change. We had two presentations that were dealing with climate change today, so I'm not going to explain much about it. Basically put it, there is agreement on the challenge, but the responsibility sharing part has a lot of issues. Then we go on to the next, a major hindrance, that is the business as usual attitude on the part of both India as well as the US. If we take up the US, in the US side, it is about improving on this approach means in the US context it means cleaner energy, increasing cleaner energy and decarbonization, which has to be faster than what is happening right now. But it is difficult in the case of a federal country like US, wherein different states have their own voices to assert among themselves, and the the federal government does find it a lot difficult. And in India's case, definitely we have a lot of problems in supplying electricity to most of our rural quarters, and the erratic or non-existent access to efficient fuels and electricity is another issue over here. And thirdly, it is about US patent laws and India's protectionist policies, the intellectual property rights problems. That the US is still reluctant to actually offer to go for transfer of technology and the technological know-how to India, feeling that India's intellectual property rights regime is quite unfavorable to US exports, as well as some of India's protectionist policies that it criticizes. For example, what happened in early 2014 when the US filed a complaint against India because India restricted its imports of thin film solar modules that it was carrying out with the US based number one leading manufacturer of thin film solar cells, that is First Solar. So what are the opportunities for cooperation? Smart grids and smarter management. So the basic, okay, I should fast. In India, weak electrical grid makes it vulnerable to actually erratic and other power shortages. After what happened in 2012, there was a blackout when two of our major energy centralized power grids, that is the northern and eastern grid, abruptly collapsed, and it resulted in a lot of hue and chaos. Then the US, which is a country which has vast experience in smart grids, and that is smart grids is actually a broad transformation of the electrical grid concept, which actually has automated system that informs of the behavioral patterns of both the consumers as well as suppliers so as to make it more energy efficient. And then we can look at innovation across the energy spectrum. So in this area, it is nice to look at some of the aspects like Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore had a few years before developed this so-called new technology of thin film solar modules made out of copper, indium, gallium diselenide, which is more efficient and more cheaper than the conventional silicon-based solar module that we are using. And then the solar photovoltaic hydro power pumps, which is actually tried with quite success in some of the villages of Andhra Pradesh, that is in Nellore and Chittoor districts. Farmers have been using it quite effectively. And then a third area we can look into is the full spectrum solar energy systems, which actually makes solar energy quite efficient, and as well as it utilizes the maximum potential of solar energy, dividing the electromagnetic spectrum within the solar energy into two. That is the visible light spectrum, it separates as different, and it uses that for lighting, for hybrid lighting, and the infrared spectrum it uses only for the energy generation program, so that maximum efficiency is ensured. And then other areas of collaboration are materials which spans batteries, nanotechnology, a very important component, then insulation and semiconductors. Then also we can also look forward to including more private research entities, NGOs, startups and spin-offs, etc. So as a conclusion, I would say that energy cooperation has the potential to be the harbinger of this so-called defining partnership, in the words of Barack Obama himself. And then the US shale gas shipments, once kicked off, will define a new roadmap in India's energy security equations, but we are yet to see. And definitely it will be very interesting to note how in a country like India, which is quite dependent on energy and is basically energy starving, just renewable energy models can be a solution. And then to surmise from all of this, I can say that even though most of the rhetoric has not translated into action, but still the fact that these talks have been going on smoothly and without much problems, it does indicate that this is actually a positive trajectory for the wider India-US relations. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramu. So